Meeting come to order. The clerk, please read the
DeBella?
here.
Hello, Commissioner Llanos here. I just got through.
Go ahead.
Adel?
Here.
Avedisian?
Here.
Buell?
Here.
Bush?
Here.
Curry? Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Drake?
Here.
Gardeau?
Here.
Healy? Hoffman?
Here.
Hoheb?
Here.
Holloway?
Here.
Iono?
Here.
Cambley?
Here.
LaChance?
Here.
LeBeau?
He's here.
Lester?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Magnan?
Here.
Maniscalco? Mandyke?
Here.
Murata? Payne?
Here.
Patel?
Here.
Potowski? Salemi? Sweezy?
Here.
Taylor? Torres?
Here.
Vicino? Wolf?
Here.
Carrier? We have a quorum.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
States of America.
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Indivisible. Liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes of November 3rd, 2021. Is there a motion? So moved. Moved and seconded. Are there any additions or deletions? Any changes? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Public comments relative to agenda items?
Judy Allen, West Hartford. I want to start by thanking commissioners for the work you do to ensure that we have safe, clean drinking water for all and a sewer system that's safe for the environment. I know it's time-consuming, and you work as volunteers, and your work is greatly appreciated. I'm a consumer who comes to meetings and tries to understand how things work. Here's one that I ponder about. As I understand it, the liquid waste discharge fee was first established to discourage toxic waste from getting into MDC sewers. It creates problems in maintaining infrastructure and can overwhelm the sewer system in wet weather. When the issue came up with the Hartford landfill, MDC suggested they treat the waste on site or truck it to a different location. At the same time, you determined that Pratt & Whitney and East Hartford had the same toxic waste problem. They paid the fee with no argument and said they would create their own plant to treat the toxins on site. But here's my concern. Suddenly, a new rate structure was created so that the more you discharge, the less you pay. Then there's the, Evidently, the east side of the river has a larger treatment plant able to handle all of Pratt & Whitney's waste, even in wet weather. So it's more attractive to Pratt & Whitney to abandon their on-site treatment and continue using MDC sewers, and the MDC enjoys an increased revenue. I haven't heard about Pratt & Whitney's toxins and MDC's infrastructure, but I'm sure there's some kind of impact. Even though the rates are the same for both sides of the river, on the east, you've encouraged to use MDC sewers, and on the west, you're encouraged not to. It's just different rules for different people. Then there's the sewer customer service charge. Whichever copy of the Raftelis study you choose to believe, the basic premise is the same. The current method for calculating the charge is inequitable and results in lost revenue. The problem comes in how and when the MDC intends to fix the problem. Both versions say MDC intends to use a lateral method for calculation, which will take 3 to 5 years to implement. In one version, in the interim, a more equitable method could be phased in, making it more equitable and raising revenue. In the other, nothing is done for 3 to 5 years, continuing the inequity for residential customers. So those are a few of my concerns. Thank you, and thank you for your work you do.
Further comment? Further public comment? Not report from the district chairman. Just briefly, we have 2 commissioners that are out based on procedures that they've had. Alvin Taylor had a procedure at the St. Francis Hospital and has had some tough times through the process, but now has turned the corner and he's doing well. He's up walking around. He's back to being his old himself. And I saw him on Friday. I talked to him this morning. I don't know. I think Al might even be on the call from the hospital. And also, Buddy Salemi had a procedure. He's at St. Francis too. What's interesting is Buddy is in 8902 and Commissioner Taylor is in 8903. They're right next to each other. And I was up to see Buddy too Friday, go from one room to the other. And he was talking, he was still talking, he was doing well. So he's got a procedure and he hopefully will be out of the hospital in the next couple of days. And then both of them are going to have to rehab. So fortunately for us all, even though Al had a pretty tough time, and quite frankly, it was touch and go with him for a while. But he's recovering and walking up and down the halls of St. Francis Hospital. So that's just for your knowledge. And again, they can have but limited visitors, only one at a time when you go up there. They're on the top floor. They're in private rooms. But probably they'll be out of the hospital. I think Al's just waiting for rehab space, and then he'll be out, and Buddy should be out in the next couple of days. But just to enlighten you that they're doing well and on the way of healing. So thank God for that. There's a lot of prayers said. Next month, what I'm going to ask that we have a series of presentations to you on things that we've been doing in terms of technology, revenue derivative issues. We're going to talk about our electric rates and some of the things we're looking at. Some things may be in executive session because they deal with land and other issues, but I think that we should have I believe staff will have most of the information we're going to need to present some things to you long-term and get an opinion where we're going on it. We've been working on several of them, like the issue of sludge and things of that nature that we're dealing with. Also, the issue of the garbage issues in the greater Hartford area that are evolving and have evolved over the last year or so. There's a lot of changes that are going on. So that's going to be a topic on the agenda for the January meeting. So just to give you an idea of where we're going, and we'll have information and dialogue on that. Report from the Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd just like to give a little update on the Colebrook Reservoir with the Army Corps. We have not received, and I will be sending a letter out this week. We have not received a response from my May 2021 letter asking for detailed backup on their charges back since 2016. So I'm going to be sending a new letter out asking specific questions about when we're going to be receiving those backups, because we do have outstanding bills that we haven't paid and will not pay until we receive the backup. Is part of the process. They assign interest for non-payment, and again, we've in my May letter indicate we're not going to pay. Initially, we had $155,000. Now another $230,000. We're not paying those bills until we see the backup from the information we requested back since 2016. So we're working on that with them. We have very good questions from Mrs. Allen regarding the cost of service, the sewer study that I requested Raftellus to develop for us that would help us justify the private property work that we do at the MDC, which traditionally has been paid for by ad valorem through the towns. That study had identified about $19 million that we could be charging to private property for the work that we do. The majority of our private property work, 95.8%, and that's not an actual number, but it's very high in the 90s. The majority of that work that we do on private property is on residential and small businesses. So we received the report. I gave the draft report out to everyone, commissioners, Mr. Silverstone, and the public, and to identify the rationale of the $19 million. And it basically justifies us moving up from $7 to $9 this coming year. It also suggested an option which you could charge by the size of the lateral. So that is something that we bring to BPW. It needs to be discussed over a period of this coming year for 2023. The problem that we have with charging by the lateral size is we have another ordinance. It's called the high flow ordinance, and we have some customers that are paying upwards of $800,000 a year in revenue because of that ordinance, and that increases the maintenance associated with the service that we provide them because of the chemicals that they discharge to our system. So what we need BPW to understand, and then the full board to understand, is we can't charge both. We can't use the Raftellus study to charge based on the rate structure that was presented on the 22nd of November for the larger customers, and also charge them the high flow rates. So the study shows that we could be charging upwards of $11 to the customers, residential customers. We're only charging $9. This is a stepping stone to get to this coming year, 2023. The goal is to have in front of BPW, Richard Vicino's group, and then the full board, a decision on how do we treat everyone fairly and not double dip on the sewer user charge for larger customers as it relates to the high flow. So we've had that discussion. We gave a presentation, and we did have, because of concerns, we did have the letter from Raftellus clarified to make sure that it was clear that it was an option. It wasn't the only solution to charge by meters, sewer lateral size. And again, the majority of when we send staff out to deal with a backup in a home or in a small business, the cost is the same, right? So if 90% or more is associated with small residential, why should we charge significantly more for a larger lateral when they're already paying the high flow charges, which is meant to cover increased revenue, so because we have to deal with more maintenance issues associated with what they're discharging to the system. So that's one issue. And then in terms of affirmative action, I just want to, we did give a presentation on November 10th. We did meet with CHRO on November 10th. We did receive final approval of our CHRO plan last Monday. A thank you to Rita Kelly and to Jamie and all of the staff at HR. Great job there. Update on the City of Hartford. As I've mentioned before, the outstanding balance was $816,000. The remaining amount due, based on a lot of due diligence by the City of Hartford staff and by our staff, is $533,000. But of that, the majority of that is the 360. I always refer to it as 385. Bob Barron, our new CFO, has corrected me that that's been changed for a couple of reasons to 376. And so of the 533, 376 is associated with the cleaning of the catch basin since really 2015. So that's the update there, and it is in my report for Board of Finance and for the full board in my monthly report. We are planning, because of the anticipation of the integrated plan getting approved, and we're hopeful that's coming soon. We are planning to start developing outreach programs similar to what we had in the first referendum and second referendum, where we would probably be reaching out and hiring groups within the community to help us facilitate our outreach to those groups. Backwater valve, thanks to Chris Stone and legal staff at University of Hartford, at West Hartford. We have resolved issues with West Hartford on the backflow valve program and sump pump disconnects. So we've got like 200 permits that we're going to be diligently implementing with the support of with our staff and our contractors and the town staff. So that's a great win there for all of us. Let me just see, backwater valves.
What about Hartford?
Yeah, it's for everybody. We're actually reaching out. We've got a outreach program right now for the Blue Hills and Granby area. With a lot of the flooding that has occurred in the recent months, we're actually planning an outreach program just for that area, so that to educate everyone on the backwater valve and sump pump program. Sump pumps in Hartford are difficult because of the city ordinances. You can't discharge, water to the street or the sidewalks. So it's not as easy as we can do it in areas like West Hartford. Just a little bit of communications. Susan Negrelli, she's always in the news lately, and she did a great job in a municipal sewer and water magazine. So we're getting a lot of good press from our engineering group and construction group on the tunnel. I've mentioned this before, but Nick and Julie have received the Public Communications Achievement Award from AWWA, and I've mentioned that before, but now they're asking Nick to write an article because, as you know, we've showed those minute videos, and those minute videos cost us about $3,000, Nick, roughly. Less than that. But it was we did about 6 or 7 of them, and we've used them for different reasons, and AWWA has liked that so much that they're asking Nick to write an article about how we did it, why we did it, and all that good stuff. So kudos to them. In terms of council presentations, we offered to our towns to present the budget to the councils. And we do have a schedule, one for Rocky Hill on the 20th of December, one in Weathersfield for January 17th, and we're still working on the other towns to get those scheduled. And then just an update. We gave this update to Rich Racino's BPW, but I just would like to update everyone. We did receive bids. As we remember, the tunnel project was really consisting of 5 smaller projects. And the tunnel itself is what we refer to as Contract 2, and that's the large $300 million tunnel that's going to West Hartford. We will hole out that project on December 12th to the 14th. We want to have, in a sense, a groundbreaking, so to speak, but we didn't know the timing. It could have been January 24th. So now that we know, we've got a good schedule for December 12th to the 14th. We're going to it's 220 feet down, right? So we can't bring everybody down there. So we're going to
I want to put the phone down so I can still hear it.
We're going to video.
I keep holding it up to my ear.
We're going to video the event, and then we're going to have in a sense, a groundbreaking, holing through ceremony in January timeframe. So we're very, very happy about that. But the contract 3 is the pump station, which is to pump the water from the tunnel into the plant. We just received bids. And in October, the construction estimate was $114 million. Believe it or not, the bids came in, the low bid came in at $114 million. A very good contractor that's done a lot of work for the MDC. So we're very hopeful, and I don't know if we know when that's going to get awarded. Chris, does anybody?
It's at deep right now.
At deep right now. We need approval. That project, as all of them in Hartford, we get 48% grant, so 48% of $117 million, which is great. And that money is allowed to increase our $1.8 billion project budget because the grants don't count towards the referendum based on our legislation passed in 2018. So that's all good. And that's all I have for tonight.
Questions? Dominic?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He mentioned City of Hartford and the catch basins and some other work where they totaled $533,000, and out of that, $376,000 is catch basin work. Have they committed to paying the total $533, which includes the catch basins?
Yes, so as I mentioned, when we started this discussion, it was 816. So let's just say 400 and 400. So 400,000 was water bills and 400,000 was catch basin cleaning. Of the 400,000, we believe that we will collect about half of that, and that's based on, validating account numbers, validating readings on meters. So we believe of the 400,000 in water meters billing, that the city will owe us and will pay about $200,000. They've already paid us $100,000 of that quote 816 or of that 400,000. The 376. Bob, have you had a chance to talk with anyone from their finance group on that?
Yeah, they referred it to their council.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
just got a
that's-
call from him tonight that I've got to return. So
Okay.
I don't know what he's,
Okay, so we're diligently trying to, to recover those funds.
And this is backdating to 2015.
15, correct.
And so that's about 7 years' worth of work, about $54,000 a year.
Correct.
On catch basin cleaning. Every other town has to do the catch basins. I think it's real important that Hartford pays the full value on the catch basins. Thank you.
We would agree.
questions, further questions? Commissioner Patel?
City of Hartford's catch basin issue is dating back many, many years. And agreement and history is very vague. And if you represent Hartford, and that's what I did at one time, and my position is, it's MDC's job, it's right from the beginning, and you got to do it. For years, they worked very well together, and the expenditure was at a regular 2 years, they used to come and they clean it. Because of some slack in the city's efforts to clean or sweep the streets and not having sand used, they minimize sweeping, and that has caused a problem. So it's not as clear cut that you can go in and just ask them to put the money up. Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you. We have item number 8, District Council, report from District Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Stone, District Council. Just a few things. I know you have a heavy agenda tonight. First, the Marriott appeal. As you know, we filed an appeal of a judge's order for us to release the assessment lien on the Marriott property. That appeal is pending. We appealed that order. That appeal is pending in the appellate court. We have filed our brief in support of our petition. We await the brief from the other side. The Limbrook liner failure from 2018 is in litigation, as you know. We expect, all discovery has been completed in that case. We expect a trial date, optimistically, spring of 2022. COVID has wreaked havoc on the schedule of the courts in terms of scheduling hearings and trials, both at the federal and the state level. This case is pending in federal court. So we're really at the mercy of the court schedule. We originally had thought we were going to have a trial sometime in the fall of 2021. Obviously, that did not happen. So we're looking to next spring. I'll keep you posted on when that's scheduled, if it's scheduled, and certainly when the trial will happen. We have just an update on our collections. We have assigned approximately $1.35 million worth of outstanding water bills to outside counsel. To date, they've collected about 56% of that outstanding debt. $910,000 has been collected in total. $155,000 of that $910,000 was collected towards attorney's fees. As you know, our new process is to have the delinquent water payer pay the attorney's fees that we incur. No upfront fees are paid by the district anymore on these files, and that's been the case since January of 2020. In addition, we've also started a process where in the event that efforts from our second floor collection people prove unsuccessful, and by the way, while we've allocated or assigned $1.35 million, the work that they do on the second floor in collecting outstanding debt is extraordinary, and so, but for their efforts, that number would be much higher. But in addition to that, where they've exhausted what they can do on the second floor, in finance, we have instituted, as you know, what I'll call a final legal letter from the Office of District Counsel, and we have shown that has proven to be very successful. About 33% of the accounts that we send out those letters to, those accounts either pay in full or they enter into a payment arrangement. And the word's out that the outstanding water bills, not only the debt not only includes the cost of the water, but also the cost to collect the cost of the water, i.e. attorney's fees and cost of collection. So in a last-ditch effort for these residents to avoid paying attorney's fees and costs, we send out that attorney letter and indicate as such to them that this is really their final chance, and that they've responded, at least 33% of those, plus or minus, but approximately 33%, have taken us up on that offer and have either made payments in full or entered into payment arrangements with district staff. To supplement Scott's report on the Army Corps, I deal with the lawyers and Scott deals with the Army Corps personnel. So I've sent a letter to the attorney representing the Army Corps, the staff attorney, indicating, as Scott had pointed out, that there's information that's lacking, that's outstanding, that we need to evaluate invoices, not just recent invoices, but invoices going back to 2016. And we take exception to their charging us late fees and penalties for non-payment. And then finally, we restate our position that, in our opinion, the agreement has been terminated, was terminated by the MDC a few years back, and that regardless of whatever, particularly on the more recent bills, whatever the amounts they claim may be due and owing, they're not doing owing because the contract has been terminated by us. On a more practical side of things, because we have a hard time getting anywhere with the Army Corps on the precise billing issue that we've discussed, we do have a conference call with Senators Blumenthal and Murphy and Congressman Larson on Wednesday of this week. In attendance will not only be those legislators, but also representatives from the Army Corps. We've received from the Army Corps Legislative Drafting Office a proposed amendment that would be placed on either a Senate word of bill or House word of bill. Ultimately, it would have to be passed by both houses of Congress, but that amendment calls for a deauthorization or decommissioning of the project, which is what we want. It affirms our position that the agreement is and/or should be terminated, subject to congressional action, with a caveat that whatever amounts may be owed the Army Corps up to that point would have to be paid. Well, that's one of the reasons why we're fighting this fight on the amount that's owed. So that's a positive step in the right direction. And I will tell you that both Congressman Larson's office, Senator Blumenthal's office, and Senator Murphy's office has been very responsive to us, very accommodating to us. We've asked for action from them, and they have acted. In addition, I know that the chairman has had conversations with Rosa DeLauro from New Haven on the issue, and with other individuals within the federal government to affect what we want to happen here. So that's positive news. It's never over till it's over, but we remain cautiously optimistic that by spring of 2022, we'll have some action. We expect some action in the Senate in December. The House will probably act after the first of the year. Finally, unfortunately, I have no new offer from the state or DEEP on the landfill issue. Should I get an offer, obviously, I will report that to the members of this board, even short of a new board meeting. That's information you should know immediately. So,
Yeah.
And that ends my report.
Relative to the landfill issue you're talking about, right,
That's
Chris?
correct.
Right, that's the landfill issue.
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Let me just add on to that. I've had several discussions with legislative people and basically legislative issues, and some of the people in the executive level on side conversations. And I think we may be moving in the right direction on that, slow but sure. And we'll have more to talk about that in January, when we discuss several issues that are in front of the board. But again, you mentioned Rosa DeLauro.
I did.
Yeah, she's been very active in the Army Corps issue. So, again, we're optimistic. Let's see what happens in that one. Further, are there any questions? Dominic?
Yep, thank you.
Commissioner Payne, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Attorney Stone. I was wondering if you could give us an update on the Sandler's invoices that I requested.
Sure. Chris Stone, I believe everyone has a copy of the invoice that was issued in November for October 2021 activity. I have yet to receive an invoice this month for activities during the month of November. As soon as I get that, or when I get that, I will be certainly forward that to you. I do know that Attorney Sandler was working not only on the South Meadows issues, but also as part of his retainer, had also done some work on an electricity issue or power issue.
I was under the impression Attorney Sandler was going to be here to answer questions and explain to us what he's been doing for the last year with invoices totaling over $80,000. And none of these issues have been voted on by this board for policy decisions to see if we even want to go in that direction.
Well, I can answer part of your question. And the first part of your question was that you were under the impression that Attorney Sandler was going to be here, and I did listen to the tape from the meeting, November's meeting, and I don't know if it was you, Attorney Payne, or another commissioner had asked that Attorney Sandler be here. I've asked that he be present this evening. I don't see him here, but I don't know what may have delayed him or caused him not to be able to make tonight. Something might have come up that I'm not aware of. I will speak to Jim tomorrow and see what the issue, if there was an issue, what the issue is, and certainly have him make sure he's available. I believe you're going to have this on the agenda in January for the January meeting. But the request was made, the instruction was made, I should say, for him to be here, and for some reason, he's not.
We'll get back and have that discussion. Further questions? Go ahead.
More for
Right.
budget, but what is the South Meadows Development Project where you have sent us 10 invoices I've got so far that equal, like you said, around $80,000? Plus, I believe there's another invoice you didn't talk about that was for $18,000 for possible land sales within the district. I would think Scott Jellison, the CEO, could have a staff member put together possible land sales to, whether it's the Water Bureau, if it's on the water side, or Public Works. We made a motion, and you were there, Chris, maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago, to sell a small piece in
Yeah.
Manchester.
Yep.
The Water Bureau asked you to go out and to hire a firm if you needed an appraiser, whatever you needed, to authorize you to go out and do it. You went out and did it, and we moved the process along. In glass, I just think these things can be done in-house. I have the invoices in front of me. Bart Holleran, Chuck Sheehan, other names. I mean, why don't we have a staff person doing this and spending approximately $100,000 in the last year on land, possible land sales, possible, because it's never come to the Water Bureau or the Public Works to sell land other than the parcels I'm talking about. I don't even know what the South Meadows Development Project is, and that says, that's the words they use in every invoice that you sent us, okay? So I would ask you that you suspend all outside work until this board, and it may be in January, and once I understand it, I'm not saying it's bad because I don't know. But we suspend all outside funding of any legal work until this board says, let's move forward with this project, or let's not. And I'd like you to report in January, it's fine, why this, and Scott, why this cannot be done inside, because I don't see either one of your names on any one of the 10 invoices that we have here. Okay? So, I know Jim reports to you, so you'll be
Right.
able, I'm sure you can answer the questions. What is the South Meadows Development Project, including?
Well, generally, I don't know why they call it, it's called that.
That's what it is in
no,
every invoice. I only know what I can read.
Commissioner, I'm not doubting that that's what it says. But my understanding of what the project is the decommissioning of the trash plant and a possible location of another trash facility of a different type, of a different scope, of a different size, run by a different entity within the South Meadows that may include involvement to some extent, either because of our land holdings in the South Meadows or because of our expertise in this area, some proposed involvement by the MDC. Now, you indicated that you want me to suspend payment for any legal services.
For that for that.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's clear.
That purpose.
Okay.
South Meadows Development.
And I take that.
Not for anything
I
else.
take that
If you
under
authorize him to do something else, that's fine. Okay?
Well,
But for this, until the board understands, I don't know if this is true, but I believe West Hartford and East Hartford have already decided to ship their waste somewhere else out of this project that's down there now.
That's my understanding as well.
Rocky Hill has hired a consultant to decide whether it's the best interest for Rocky Hill to continue to go there and pay the high fee or possibly go somewhere else. We've hired a consultant. I don't know what the council's decided, okay? I can find out, but until we understand what's going on to spend this kind of money, and on land sales, I want you to explain that at the next meeting also, or whenever you have time.
Well, could I address that?
And,
Which one?
The land sales. I believe that the chairman of the Finance Committee has been working on that issue, has he not?
The land sale issue, there were some outstanding bills for work done that were paid, and you're referencing the 18,000, right? With that payment, the CEO indicated that there would be no more work done, no more payments made, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, no more payments made on that account for that purpose, absent action by the board on the issue, both in terms of the policy, inside or outside, inside council, outside council, and the funding. And as my understanding is that there has been no work done on that issue, legal work, since that time. I also understand that over the past 2 Board of Finance meetings, the issue has been discussed. There was a motion in finance to, I'll say, authorize the Board of Finance Chair to continue to pursue possible revenue options, positive revenue options for the sale or lease of district property that is no longer of any use to the district. That has never gone to the district board. I anticipate that that may come to the district board either next January or February. But at that point, it would have to come with some funding, because that's not in my budget. I don't believe that Scott has a budget line item designated for that, so that would be something that would have to be authorized by this board, by the finance board first, and by this board ultimately. And that may come, after the first of the year. That's on that issue. On the other issue, as you know, Attorney Sandler works in my office on a flat rate retainer. He doesn't bill hourly. I'm under a written agreement with Attorney Sandler for that amount through the end of the year. I'll leave it to the board as to whether you want him to continue to do the work in the South Meadows on the trash issue, but I have other work that he will, if not that, will do to earn the monies that he's being paid by the district. So I'm not going to pay an attorney.
Need outside attorneys
I'm not
to
gonna-
do work that, if, say, you take them from one project to another, do we even need outside attorneys with the amount of attorneys you have on staff? I mean, we got other water companies that have 0 attorneys. They hire out as needed. I mean, do you really have this? I mean, I'm looking at it as a budget item.
No,
To
I-
me, it's $100,000
Yep.
a year, and if we go back 4 years ago, I think it was $300,000 to $400,000 we were paying outside attorneys.
No.
It was a much larger number.
Let's just stick with, let's just please, if it's easier for me at least, to stick with the Attorney Sandler, because the other, I do spend other monies in your legal budget for things like appeal on the Marriott, appeal on 77 Main Street, a successful appeal on 777 Main Street, and other things that rely upon outside counsel where we don't have these. On the Ludlow case, the federal case, we hired outside counsel.
Things you report back to us on, as you did tonight, you have never, other than it did come up for a short time last meeting, you have never reported back to us on all these invoices.
Well, I sent you.
And I don't believe Scott has either.
If I may, I sent.
I'm not blaming you.
No, I know. No, I
Let's do
sent, I sent in June, and I resent in November a report from Attorney Sandler on the trash issue. And that was as much an historical document as anything else, but it did lay out what's going on in the South Meadows in terms of the trash. That report was prepared by Attorney Sandler. His name's on it. And attorneys do not work for free. So that was part of his doings. I have asked for a report, an updated report. I have not received that updated report yet. As I receive it, you'll get it. It'll be a document prepared by Attorney Sandler that I will forward to the board. But I have asked for that, and as I told, I think it was you, Commissioner Payne, I was going to ask for an update
So, Mr. Chairman.
after the November meeting. So
And
you'll get it.
Next January, in January, this will be one of the items that will be discussed, the South Meadows development?
Definitely. Let me just say, relative to using Mr. Sandler, we're in the process of the whole issue of electricity that we're looking at. We had a $1.5 million increase this year. We're encouraged that there may be another alternative not working. We're working with our consultant, who has been with us how long, Scott?
Since 2008.
Yeah.
Rich
and-
Costello.
Costello, and I have been pursuing this matter for the last 6 months relative to what we're doing. Mr. Sandler has worked on that with us, with Scott, myself, and with our chief legal counsel, Mr. Stone. So we'll be more than glad to lay out what's been happening. Much of what we have to do to bring to this board is what we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we know what we're talking about when we get into these issues. We have about 10 megawatts of electric use in the South Meadows. That's running us, what, a year? About $4 to $6 million?
Total is about 8.
$8 million. A significant amount. We had a $1.5 million increase, and we're looking at probably even a larger increase as we go down in the next year in terms of energy costs. So that'll be included on our meeting for in January. I did not want to do it tonight. We don't have all the information, but more importantly, we got a budget to do, which is critical. We'll have a report back and have the appropriate people here, and we can discuss some of this in a public session, others in an executive session, because it does deal with land and some of the other things that we're looking at doing down in South Meadows. Further questions, Dominic?
Yep, thank you. A question for our CEO, Scott. How much were you aware of these invoices and the topics? And at any point, did you think that it would be important, before we spent close to $100,000, to have a meeting with the towns to see if they're even interested in pursuing any of this activity?
Yeah, so I'm going to break up the invoices into 2 pieces, because I think Commissioner Sweezy mentioned the 18,000. I think the 18,000 wasn't 18, it was actually 15. There was a couple of bills that were in question. And so as it relates to this issue with the trash, this is a policy issue, right? This is a policy issue for the board to decide, not for me to decide. The issue in terms of Mr. Sandler's working on these projects relative to the trash plant, I completely agree, and we agree that the towns, we've got to make sure that the towns even have the need. What's the pros, the cons of all this, right? You got to kind of be there to understand what's happening, and that's what Jim's been doing. But at this point now, there's a lot, it's dynamically changing given what's happening with Hartford, and I don't know if you want to mention Hartford, but the logic should be, and we need to bring this to you to say, does our 8 towns or some of our towns want to go in this direction? And if the answer is yes, the question is, do you go without 8 towns and just 4, or do you need all 8 towns to decide like what's happened in the past? I think it's a policy issue that should be decided by the board, by the towns. I think Ray mentioned West Hartford, and I know, going back to the days of Ron Van Winkle, he had indicated West Hartford had farmed out their trash years ago, right? And so did East Hartford. And so there's a big discussion there about where is each town going. It sounds like Rocky Hill's doing their own study. We need to get everybody together to say, what is the direction, where do we want to go? Does the MDC need to be involved anymore now that Hartford is doing something else? I don't know. But I do agree, Commissioner, that it's a policy decision that the board should decide. Chris, I don't review the legal bills, and Chris has a responsibility to provide a service, so that, just like I do in my engineering contracts, to make sure that we can do our due diligence, to make sure that we have the information when you guys ask for it, or gals ask for it, the board asked for it. You're asking for it, and I think we need to have a meeting to give you a full update as to what is happening with the trash plant. As it relates to the other invoices, when it comes to land sales, as Chris mentioned, I did receive bills from Mr. Sandler that were, we hadn't really had a direction from the board or from Water Bureau to go in to start on this. So I asked Mr. Sandler, Chris Stone, to hold on any future billing on this topic until we could bring it back to the board, Water Bureau, BPW, and decide what is the direction. How do you want to proceed?
No one authorized the 15,000 that was the invoice that came in. Was that authorized at all? And if not, then why did we pay it?
We didn't pay
And
15,000.
Yeah, we
I'd
did.
like to see a copy of that invoice in the future, please.
Will do.
Okay. Ray,
When do you plan on doing this? Not at our board meeting in
our
January.
board meeting.
You know, I don't know what the agenda is, but if it's long, I think we could talk an hour with Jim here just on this solid waste thing. I think we can talk on land, because I'm gonna ask Scott, where's all this land we're gonna be selling? And it's gonna take time, so, you know, you
Well,
may wanna have just one meeting, whether it's through this full board, strategic, and the full board invited, and, you know, really put a couple hours just into this couple.
Well, listen, if you're going to deal with the board, let's deal with the board. I have no problem doing that. Let's lay it out to the board and let's talk about what we're
I don't
doing.
think you should do it at night when we're doing a board meeting.
Well,
I think, you know, you'd be here until 10 o'clock at night.
well, maybe that's what we've got to do. I don't know. We can have a separate one. It's up to you. I think it's better we bring it up in a board meeting. We can then determine whether we need additional meetings after that. But I think that that's the case. We'll lay that out. We're getting a lot of material. We're accumulating material. We're talking to our consultants that we have that are hired already on a couple of these issues. And by the way, the trash issue isn't what is happening. What's happening is, in the trash areas, everybody's shipping. Either they're going to ship one way or the other, because the contract in Hartford is going to be the end of the question of, Mura. And there's a rate differential. It's rather dramatic. So once they make their decision, but the real issue here is, how long do you ship? And when do you find a solution that's cheaper and a technology that works? And that's what DEEP is talking about. They tried to put it together 3 or 4 years ago and couldn't. But now you're seeing that with Mura out of the picture, you're not going to have an operating resource recovery facility. With technologies changing the way they're changing, making them smaller, and Hartford acknowledging the fact now that they're supportive of some kind of technology in the South Meadows at a smaller development of 300 or 400 tons, probably 300 tons. It makes it a differential relatively to where they're going to locate it, what property is going to be available.
And that's the technology we're going to be talking about in January?
No, I'm just saying there are technologies that are existing that people are talking about. Not anything specifically that we know, other than the task force in Hartford has been involved in that, and we participated in it because Hartford's a major player in the whole South Meadows in what they're going to do. The reason the city of Hartford has been so significantly involved in the South Meadows issue with the trash plant is, it's 82 acres. It's right in the middle of what is to be their economic development capacity. It's zoned for different uses, but there's tax benefits here and tax ramifications. So I think we can get into that whole discussion of why that happened and what they're doing. And I think you'll see in the next week or so, or 2 weeks, Hartford making a decision on what they're going to do as far as shipping is concerned, or not. West Hartford's already done that, East Hartford's done it, and almost all of our other towns are looking at exportation of existing garbage, whether it's theirs or it's a conglomeration of towns put together.
Just
So,
one more thing, Scott. for that meeting, can you put together, because I said, you just corrected me, it wasn't 180,000, it was 150, whatever, you know? Put together the exact numbers that we sued CRRA for, what we received from them, and what our legal bills were for that suit.
Yep,
Because I know what they were, but I don't want to be 100,000 off, okay?
okay.
Well, I think you also have to go all the way back to the beginning in terms of what CRA has paid MDC over a period of time, and what the value of that was back to, what, 19, when,
You can
no,
do that, that's fine, too.
21 years ago, so.
no, it's more than 21 years.
Yeah.
I know the money we lost
Right.
in solid waste.
Right. Oh, but there's a history here, of why we ended up with, in that battle with CRA, when they claimed certain charges were raised. So there's a major history on that stuff. So whatever we're going to put together has to be
Together,
concise. Right.
Yep, we can do that.
Commissioner Patel.
This is the question of, excuse me, policy. As a chairman and a CBO should have some liberty to explore, or what you call business intelligence. Find out who is doing, what is happening, how it can affect our business. Now, if they spend to overall whatever amount they are spending, we are nitpicking on it and drilling on only who gets paid. And I think that's not perfect for us.
Thank you. I think you'll see that. And again, the bottom line issue here, we started a committee a year and a half ago to look at revenues. The only thing we came up with was a single issue of solar panels on a boat in the middle of one of our reservoirs. It made no sense. I really got fed up with what was going on and decided there's other ways. There's a whole series of options that we have here in front of us. We get the information together, we'll have it by January, bring you up to date on it, and we're not talking about solar panels, we're talking about major industries that we deal with in the state, we're talking about electricity. All those issues are things that we have to bring it before this board. We have to tell you how we're doing it, what we're doing it, what the law is. It's a complicated process here. But when we get hit with a $101.5 million increase in our energy costs, it was time that we start to look at what are the alternatives. And I've raised this question with staff over the last year or so, year and a half. So that's what we'll do, and answer all the questions. There's no issues that someone's got anything to hide here. We'll lay it out. I've had discussions with many of you commissioners individually on what we're doing. So I'll be more than glad to defend what I've done in this process. And I think that it was out of frustration, a lot of it, relative to us talking about solar panels that are probably going to cost us more money than it's going to yield us. Okay, can we move on to the budget? Is there any further questions? I'm sorry. Commissioner Bush.
Thanks. I don't want to belabor this any longer. It's thoroughly been discussed, but I just had a couple of quick questions, and I just want to make sure that I understand exactly what's going on. There's a project that you guys are working on to try to generate some revenue. It hasn't been thoroughly sussed out yet, but you're working on it. And Attorney Sandler, from what I heard Attorney Stone say, is that he's on a flat fee retainer. So he's going to get paid X amount of dollars in a calendar year, no matter what he does, correct?
Well, that's correct, but he's not going to do nothing.
I just wanted to make sure he's going to get paid.
Yes.
Regardless, whether he's working on the South Meadows project or collections or whatever he's going to work on.
That's correct.
And the invoices that everyone's talking about are basically an accounting of the money that we've already contracted to pay him. It's just itemizing the detail of that bill.
That's correct.
Okay, and you have ultimate discretion over the expenses that this attorney does? Or who's
I assign him work.
You
That's
assign him
correct.
work. Okay, so I think that clarifies in my mind what's going on. It seems pretty above board to me.
Thank
So,
you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, can we start, I'm sorry, Alan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the legal counsel completed his report tonight, he mentioned three, what I call big-ticket sources of revenue that are still outstanding. And if I could just ask, excuse me, if I could just ask for a round total, roughly, is fine. We don't need a decimal point accounting. But a round total of the collections, that would be number one. Number two, Colebrook, and I'm talking about what we say is owed to us, not what they may say. And three, Deep, what we say they owe us. Now, if we have that grand total, whatever it is, remember where that money will go once we get it. And especially when we're talking about passing the budget, which always is in a position of trying to increase revenue and decrease expenses, I think this is an important number. And I think whatever efforts, and I'm not criticizing the effort, but whatever efforts can be put into it, we should do everything possible. And whether it means we have to go to court again and again and again, that money is owed to this corporation. And we should be doing every possible thing to get that, whether it's calling Congressman Larson and DeLauro, et cetera, et cetera. We should do everything we can.
We are doing that.
I'm not criticizing that part, but I would like that number.
What number, is this on the landfill? Is that
Yeah,
the
so we
deep
have-
issue? Okay, landfill. I think we're almost at $16 million, aren't we, in total?
It's probably in that 15, 14 range.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On the other issue, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Colebrook.
Chris Stone, District Council. Colebrook is a combination, frankly. It's cost avoidance. They claim that we owe them as of a week or so, 2 weeks ago, between last fiscal year and the current fiscal year, approximately $420,000. We feel we have an adjustment that's going the other way. Once we get the information that we've asked for, going back to 2016, which under the agreement we're entitled to ask for and entitled to get, we feel that 430 may go down to some other number, but primarily it's cost avoidance on into the future. That number is incalculable because you don't know what the expenses might be or the capital costs might be going forward, but we're trying to get to avoid those expenses. And on the collections, that's also a dual-edged sword. We've collected the $1.3 million in assigned files to outside counsel. We've collected in water fees approximately $780,000 to date. So that's revenue in that would otherwise not be there. But we've also avoided approximately $155,000 in attorney's fees that we would have otherwise paid prior to January 2020, because we've collected that money from the delinquent ratepayer. So that's there's two sides to that. There's a revenue in and a cost avoidance. And if you would like more exact numbers, we can get you those.
It's just that rough number that
Okay.
would be going back into our ratepayers.
And Alan, we can get you the exact amount on the landfill because we just have to go back and recalculate it. The significant part of that is going forward. If you make a settlement, it's the percentage that you're going to capture retrospectively will be what you agree to settle going forward. That's what the calculation. But we have it from, I believe, September, when we did the final budget, or was it June? June. June is when the implementer was put in and they took it out. So we have the numbers specifically to that point in time. Okay.
Thank you.
Can we,
Sorry.
go ahead, Ray.
Sorry, one more thing. And I don't know if this is the appropriate place for it, or maybe there's another meeting, but regarding the energy purchase, the electricity, in the $1.5 million increase in the cost of electricity, and we're talking about an $80,000 legal fee, when we really should be, I think, focusing on the $1.5 million increase in the electricity cost. So, I have a little bit of experience in the energy aggregation business, and to me, I've never met Mr. Costello. I'm not sure if he's in the room tonight, but.
No, it's not.
But to me, it seems that there was probably some oversight in the fact that we let our current rate expire all the way down into a crisis of energy increasing costs, where we should have had more oversight regarding, staggering the purchasing cost over a period of time, if you're going to
We
be.
had a contract.
We have a contract for 4 years.
Correct,
Yeah.
but you can re-up that contract, or you can prepare for the end of the contract.
We did.
Prior to its expiration.
Right, but and that's what we did. So the contract expires in December, and we prepared for that bid and that bidding process. We can't get out of the contract. It's as you can imagine, you're not gonna bid a new contract and go with the new supplier and not pay your old supplier. So
I'm not suggesting we do that, and again, I don't, maybe this
Yeah,
is the
that's
place
fine.
for it, but how far in advance did we start discussing the purchase of the energy? At what point did we say, contract's expiring, we need to re-up? What month was that?
But you can't re-up until
the
the
expiration.
contract expires, right? So you can't, no matter what we do, there's a process in place, as you can imagine, as you know. We can't just, bid this in June and then award it in July and then wait for the contract to expire. We have literally 2 hours. This is like the stock market. So we get the bids in. It's in a sense a reverse auction, and the bids come in, and we have 2 hours to make a decision. And if we don't make the decision, we have to do the whole thing over the next day. And we've done that in the past, and we actually did it this day. So and the rate was even a little bit lower. But we have to give at least a month of time to go through and finalize the contract with a new supplier. So we have to we bid it as we did in what was the date? Late October.
It was the end of October.
We needed a month. You need a month to just process the contract with the new supplier. So,
You couldn't buy future.
But
you
that's
couldn't
for
buy future
generation.
contract?
No, that's generation is what you're buying.
yeah, it's a very regimented process, Commissioner. We've been doing it since 2008. And like I've said before, we were probably the first municipality to do this. So we've been doing it for a while, and the rates are unfortunate. Unfortunately, it's not just us, but as you know, they're expecting the rate for residential to go up as high as 30%. So, and you can argue about why, but the end result is everyone is paying more for energy.
Right, but Scott, that's generation. That's basically what you're buying is generation. There's also distribution and a whole series of other issues that come into effect and that we're looking at right now. And at the direction of our consultant, gave us some ideas that we could do, and we're pursuing those at this point.
Generate electricity.
No, not generation. Generation is when you're buying electricity, you buy generation.
Generate
And then
power
the
on
cost of distribution is separate. The distribution is separate from generation. That's the charges that the utility company provides you for using their wires and distribution. So there's a lot of changes that are happening in that industry, and that's what we're looking closely at. The next pump station that we're going to do here is going to have 1 megawatt of electricity, 1 megawatt of electricity a year to operate that thing. So there's some significant money involved in this process and some other options that exist.
Has there been any research, and I did a tiny bit, is there any research in actually doing the flow of the water through some of the larger water mains to try to generate some hydroelectric power?
Yes, we have looked at that. We have done a project that I would go back to solar. And, we've done a lot of work, a lot of study, a lot of money has been invested.
Can we please get back to the budget and the agenda?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We'll have a lot of discussion about that.
Okay. Item 9, Water Bureau consideration and potential action regarding 2022 water rates, recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That's an aye, right? Yep. Okay, item B, 2002 water assessment rates and miscellaneous water charges. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Item C, approval of service shut-off and non-responsive estimated accounts. Recommended action, refer to the Board of Finance.
No, that's,
No.
it came
I'm
from
sorry,
the-
I'm done.
Water, last week.
Went to Water Bureau.
It went to the Water Bureau, right.
Receive the report and adopt the resolution.
Came out of water 2 weeks ago.
Okay, what are you on 10 now?
We need a motion and a vote on C.
Okay, is there a motion on C?
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Bill,
Go ahead, Ray.
on that, at first I didn't care one way or the other, but this could be millions of dollars. We can go back, what, 6 years, 7 years?
6.
Okay, 6. This is 700 customers that are still getting estimated bills. You could be getting it for your house, you could still be getting a
That's why
$30
we're referring
estimate
it
bill,
back to
paying
finance.
that each month.
That's
But your bill actually could be more like $80. So you take $50 times the 12 months, $600. Go back 6 years in the present year, $4,200 times 700 accounts that are still on estimate bills. That could be $2.9 million of lost revenue. Now, we can only go back that many. These people have been on an estimate forever, for the last 20 years. So I think it's very important that you look at these accounts, and if they don't let us in, we do consider shutting them down. Because, to Mr. Hoffman, I mean,
back to the Board of
2.9
Finance?
million is a lot of possible revenue. Now, staff could come up with better numbers. I did this in my head while we were sitting there. And,
Let me
because
have
the
yours.
average bill now is like $80, so.
Ray, I think this is one more notice on that issue before we
Yes,
we'll
it is,
pursue
it
that.
is.
John, why don't you just explain what the issue is here?
Yeah, this ordinance was, we modified the ordinance to allow permission to shut off properties that are non-responsive to give us access to our equipment.
Which is what
And over the past 10 years, the RF upgrade program has reduced the amount of these long-term estimated accounts from tens of thousands down to under 1,000. And when we approved the ordinance, when you guys approved the ordinance, CEO Scott Jellison said that while we're changing the text of the ordinance, the action will not be taken until the time is right, and we're really down to a limited number of people that have been wholly unresponsive. And so that's what this action is notifying you that we're down to the last group of people that we cannot get access to. We're going to send them further notice, give them 2 weeks, that if you do not contact us, you will be shut off. We'll get the hold of the meter, we'll get a reading, and we'll know what actual consumption they had, and then we will bill them accordingly. And similarly, if it took 5 years to accrue that balance, they're then offered 5 years to be allowed to pay that balance back.
But we would still get that revenue back.
The revenue would come
so-
to us.
I know exactly what we voted on. You're right, John.
Yeah.
But this at least keeps it moving forward. I think it's something that, over the next year, we got to get these meters in these houses and get actual billing. Because whether it's 2.9 million or 1 million of lost revenue, every one of us that pay a water bill here are paying a little more for these 700 people are not paying their actual bill.
So it was there was a typo on the account, that's what, but it's doing that. Further questions?
Mr. Chair, I just want to confirm, as Commissioner Mandyke, I just want to confirm that the towns will receive notice, both by paper and possibly a call to any town managers or mayors prior to this notice being sent out for these 700 customers.
Commissioner, this is Scott Jellison. You requested legislators, town managers.
Thank you, yes.
And the police departments. And that's a normal process, but
We
we typically
we
don't
just
notify
added
the
on.
legislatures, but we will.
Just
Notify
want to make
legislature.
sure.
Yes.
If I might,
My notes.
if I might, Mr. Chairman, and to you, Commissioner Mandyke, my understanding is that they're not going to get notice before the notice goes out. They're going to be copied on the notice that does go out.
Does go out,
Because there's
right.
still a 14-day period for which the customer has to comply. I don't think you want us to give them notice of a notice. Is that, they're going to get copies of the notice that we send the customers.
I would like them forewarned before we
Yes.
send out notices.
We're gonna
that
notify
give
the
them 14 days. And just say, hey, guys, we've come to the end of, this, we've tried and tried and tried. We're going to be sending out these notices. We wanted to give you a heads up.
Yep,
Might get some calls.
we will.
And just explain to them the process that we've gone through so they understand how much we have tried.
These are basically people that won't let you into their home.
Correct. And I just want to let them know.
And all of the RF projects that we've done 3 of them. Every one of those projects, we send out a notice to the towns, to the police departments, to let them know we're in the area. We will be there in the next month. We send out another notice 2 weeks in advance, so the towns, the legislators, the police departments will know not specifically what house we're going to, but that we're in the area of West Hartford, for example, and we're going to be doing, sending out some notices, and we will copy them on the notices, but they'll be aware that notices are going out prior to them going out.
Right, and this is just a special case, because
Yes.
these are the meters. I'm not asking for this
Right.
for everything, but I'm
Yep.
asking for this
Correct.
special case.
Agreed.
Rich?
Are they all single-family residential?
Of the 700, I would bet they are, but Chris, we have a breakdown?
Not right, but there are some multifamily as well.
Well, I posed the question if multifamily, we're going to be shutting off tenants that aren't participating in the payments anyhow. So how do we deal with that?
The process is that, sorry,
Get fast action and pay their bill.
Chris Levesque with the MDC. So the process on that is to notify the homeowner, so the property owner, so they could have a different address if they're not living in the multifamily home. Perhaps they own a 3-family in Hartford but live in Windsor. We'll notify the property owner. At that time, we're making communication with them, but our process is that we will be installing a meter pit in advance so we can actually shut it down and then have that direct contact with the property owner for the retrieval of our property, the meter, so we can rectify the account.
But on multifamilies, we're going to be very cautious about
Yes.
shutting off.
Because in a
it's not
three-family,
the,
Yes.
you'll have one bill going in.
right.
Isn't that
And we're
the
not
way
going
it
to shut
works?
off water
To individuals.
to renters that are, because their landlord's not paying the bill or not letting us in. The a lot of the multifamilies, we're able to access because the renters actually give us access. But there's some that it's just the way that the property's constructed, that we just can't get in. But we're going to be very cautious about shutting off any kind of multifamilies.
Further questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Item 10, Bureau of Public Works, consideration and potential action regarding A, we can take these individually or together? Take them together, individually, I mean?
Yeah, you could do either.
Okay. Bureau of Public Works, consideration and potential action regarding A, 2022, district sewer user charge rates and other sewer charges. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Let's take them up one at a time. Is there a motion?
Move.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item, it passes.
To the budgets.
Item B, acceptance of sewers built by DPA, developer permit,
That's,
isn't it?
develop permanent agreement.
Permanent agreement, yeah, permit agreement. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did I take that?
You're good.
Okay. Item B, I'm sorry, 11, Board of Finance, consideration and potential action regarding fiscal year 2022. A, capital improvements, budgets, and funding. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Al?
if I may, in the absence of our Finance Committee Chair, Commissioner Salemi, he asked that I make a few comments to the point of passage of the budget. It is the case, or I should say at this point was, that we held multiple workshops, multiple meetings of the Finance Committee in very detailed situations with the staff and also with the finance directors of the member towns. It's also the case that we were very fortunate to have joining us this year our new CFO, Bob Barron, who, by the way, comes from a background of municipal finance, and I hope that the finance directors of the member towns appreciate the fact that he would be very empathetic to their situations individually and collectively when it comes to facing the ad valorem and the budget in terms of expenditures that in some cases just double the size of the expense, sometimes when we can't even imagine that it would ever increase so quickly and so much. And so also, but he asked me to compliment the staff, the finance department staff, for the job that they did this year, and the fact that they were sort of on a somewhat compressed time frame. And it was also the case that the MDC department heads worked to reduce whenever possible and really be economical on their requests for expenses. And not to forget the CEO overall
Well, September.
trying to control the budget expenses. As far as the commissioners were concerned, we had, as I said, many discussions, good exchange of questions and answers, and we also want to note that we appreciate very much the comments, public comments, of some of our biggest fans out there. And we do appreciate it, and we do consider every word that's spoken. And so on behalf of my chairman on the Finance Committee, Bud Salemi, he wants to just suggest that we urge the board to move this forward ASAP. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're at B.
No, a vote on A.
A vote on A. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay, B, budget expenditures. Is there a motion, recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution?
Move it.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Question?
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Last year, Scott, we allocated some money to Colebrook. I think it was 1.2 or 1.4 million.
1.5, yeah.
1.4, 1.5.
Yep.
Is that money still sitting in there?
We just moved it over from last year.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're anticipating $500,000 worth of bills,
Well, so.
or less,
Yep.
because you said they've invoiced us 400 and something.
Yeah, so they've invoiced us 400 and some odd $1,000, which we haven't paid, and we won't pay until they give us the information we've asked for, back to 2016.
Can that budget line item be reduced in order to reduce the budget?
No, good question, and we've talked about this, but the problem is the way that the Army Corps works is they will generate a budget number for this coming year in April, and we don't know what that number is going to be. So we're in the same position we were last year, so that's why we carried the money over. If we can get this issue resolved, and we can come to terms with the Army Corps that the project quote is over, and then we just need to reconcile the bills from 2016 to today, the answer is we could. But again, we're in the same position. We get bills in October of what they've spent, and then we get a projection in April of what they think they're going to spend for the upcoming year.
But the projected, we budgeted 1.4 million last year.
Yep.
The invoices came in for last year, and they're less than $500,000.
Correct.
Have been paid.
No, we haven't paid anything.
Haven't paid.
We're not paying anything. We're not going to pay anything until we get.
So why would you anticipate more than 500,000 for the next year?
We just don't know. I mean,
Aren't we overestimating this?
Well, the problem could be, yes, and the problem is, if we underestimate, then what? Right? So if we underestimate and we're short $500,000, $600,000, that means we might have to budget in double in the next year. So if we happen to lose the argument, we don't want to. What we're trying to avoid is having to pay whatever we owe them in a given our given calendar year, and we're trying to budget that money so that if we were to lose our argument, we don't have to double up on the charge to the towns or to the water rate. That's our goal.
Wasn't that all surplus money? That 1.4?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought we had 5 million left over last year, I thought, and we put 1.4 of that against
That's right.
this.
You asked us,
So
the
it was
board
good.
asked, the money is sitting there. The money is the same money from
Same
last
money, I
year.
know.
We haven't paid a
Doesn't
penny.
change one way or the
Doesn't
other.
change. And we just carried it over into this year's budget.
And if we're successful, we end up with a $1.4 million surplus. that
No,
we-
sorry.
There.
No, because if we're successful, we're going to have to negotiate whatever they think we owe them and we think we owe them. So it's going to be some number. But we, like you said, if we were to get a bill in April, that's $1 million. Now we owe them quote 1.4. So it's this vicious cycle of the way they bill us. They bill us the actual in October, and then they bill us for a future potential in April. And we're trying to avoid having to say to the board next October, well, we owe them 1.4 for this coming year, and oh, by the way, we didn't budget anything for the previous 2 years, so we gotta increase the water rate by $1 million.
Thank you
That's
very
what we're trying to avoid.
Thank you.
Ray?
On expenditures, I'd like to reduce account 512370. It's $1.2 million by $376,000.
That's riverfront recapture?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I've talked to my town council and stuff. We have two parks on the Connecticut River. We get a dime out of the $28 million that the MDC has given them riverfront recapture over the years. I mean, we don't get any benefit. I know a lot of other towns don't get benefits. And the reason I come up with the 376, I would like them to be a lobbyist for us, Riverfront. I would be willing to give it back to them if the city of Hartford pays us what they owe us. Well, I don't think they're going to pay us. Well, then it's a cut of $376,000. That's my motion.
Is there a second
I'll second that.
discussion? Go ahead, Cal.
I keep on hearing this argument that folks don't get anything other than Hartford from riverfront recapture. I've got to remind people that riverfront recapture is a resource not only for the towns, but for the region. And it has an economic benefit to the region. In addition to that, as we have seen this past year and a half, 2 years with the pandemic issue, the amount of people from all of the towns and outside of the town that have come into this region to take advantage and use and enjoy the river, which we have helped cleaned up over the years, is a tremendous asset, not only to Hartford, where the riverfront recapture is located, but to the region. And it includes all kinds of things, which is an amenity and a resource to all the towns, including the boat launch area and all of the other walking and biking and activities that take place at the riverfront recapture. So, I don't see that as, and I hate it when people continue to say it's a Hartford Park. It's not a Hartford Park. It's a park that belongs to all the towns and some additional towns that also enjoy what the park can offer. And I also see it as an economic development piece. You talk about quality of life. You draw people, you draw businesses and companies into the area because when they look for quality of life, this is one of the things that their employees are looking for. They want to be able to come to an area that has things to offer to them, and that we all benefit from that economic development. Thank you.
John?
Well, I can tell you from the last time we did this, our town said to us, save some money, save some money, save some money. We cut riverfront recapture, and then a month later, they were coming back to us saying, what'd you do that for? I don't want to go through that again. I think the town of Windsor is very happy, obviously, with what's going on with riverfront recapture. I've had the honor of sitting in Scott's Place for some meetings. They're a good group of people. They're trying very hard to raise money so that we don't have to give them as much. And they've got a lot of good ideas. And I think that we need to be good corporate citizens. I agree with Commissioner's last statements. We need to leave it just the way it is, and I would vote against decreasing the dollar value.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me, we got someone speaking.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Gardo here. I would support this amendment to the budget. The other thing that I would think would be better for the water ratepayer would be to take this, whatever we provide to the riverfront recapture, and put it in the ad valorem, so it's actually a tax on the towns. If the towns really want to have it, then that's fine, because I feel as though that coming out of the water bill, it's like when I register my car, I have to pay for the state park thing. I haven't been to and I know I said this last year, I haven't been to a state park in decades. All right, it's the same type of thing. And if you make it a tax through the ad valorem, it's more regional. And I believe that Commissioner Salemi had brought this up. So, if the towns thinks it's great, then we should tax the towns for it. So, thank you.
Further discussion? Jackie?
Just really quickly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, after, Commissioner Curry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Geez, I don't even know where to start. It's like deja vu. The argument that Rocky Hill isn't benefiting from whatever it is they may not be benefiting from. But I think most of us could say that. Hartford's being dug up in sewers, 100-year-old sewers are being fixed, and East Hartford we're already been updated, and they're not as old, and we're in good shape. And So are we benefiting from those hundreds of millions of dollars spent? Sure we are. Because as goes the capital, and as goes the city, so goes the region. And, you know, my first thought was, I'm not sure whether I'm at Ford's Theater or tomorrow was Pearl Harbor Day, but, you know, the commissioners, Scott Jellison, the administration, his cabinet, we spent thousands of hours in the various committees, subcommittees, dealing with the budget, putting together a budget that we think passes the smell test and the taste test and is fair to everyone. You know, the things that I would like to change in it, sure there are. But, you know, politics is the art of compromise, and budgets is the part of compromise. And to bring this to life at the last minute again is just so wrong and so egregious. And, you know, riverfront recapture serves a valuable resource to the region and everybody that's on the river, both north of it and south of it. And I say leave it alone.
Jackie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I just think that this is, whether or not you support funding and moving money into this, I think this is a very bad precedent for this commission to go ahead and establish that somebody owes us money, so we're going to cut off money or services to them.
No, that wasn't.
Excuse me.
The motion was.
Excuse me, Mr. Commissioner, just let me finish.
Commissioner, do not interrupt speakers when they're speaking, please.
And I also think that myself, as Commissioner from West Hartford, I cannot support this funding going to the ad valorem. As we've looked at the numbers, it then spreads amongst less people to go ahead and do this. And those of us who look at the way that we are currently doing ad valorem and may or may not believe that it is equitable or it's not the right system we should do, I don't think until we resolve that issue, we should be adding more costs onto the ad valorem system at this point in time. And I think at this point in time, I'd just like to call the question and do this vote.
We don't cut off the question here. I would ask you just to give everybody their ability to say what they want to say. And by the way, there's no motion to add it to the ad valorem. It was an opinion.
Correct.
Yeah, right. And it's your opinion, obviously, not to do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Patel.
riverfront recapture is not City of Hartford. Riverfront recapture was created by private sector, employers of many of your residents. And they saw that it was needed and it was worth organization. City didn't go and ask for creating it. Private sector created it. Everybody was supporting it. All your residents who were employees of all different corporations were also part of it. And then you turn around and blame city and ask for the city to contribute 100%. Not only that, second thing is that dealing with punishing the city for 375, and you cut it out, and if you collect it, we'll give a riverfront recapture. What type of business are we in? Second thing is that when we started paying for these expenses, we agreed that we raised 1 cent on water charges. And that's the amount it came from. And that's how it was estimated. So it's not when something came afterwards. 1 cent specifically was added into your water bill.
It's 180,000 is 1 penny.
Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? If not, on the motion, on the amendment to delete riverfront recapture from the existing proposed budget, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's not it.
That's not the question.
No, that's not the question.
The motion was,
I'm sorry, read the motion. There's $375,000, is that what it is, right?
Yeah, the motion is to reduce the budget item 512370, which is riverfront recapture, by $376,000.
period.
Is that it? Okay.
Joe?
All those in favor of the amendment as stated by the clerk, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No.
No.
failed. Is there discussion on the main motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Item number C, budget revenues. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to adopt?
Move it.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Item D, hydroelectric expenditures and revenues. Motion to receive the, recommend the action and receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion? Is the motion?
Moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. If not, all those in favor of item D signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, setting the district's 2022 referendum threshold. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? If not, all those in favor of item E, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item passes. Item F, tax on member municipalities. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
Move it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of item F, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item F passes. Item G, revision of available general fund balance policy. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
Move it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of item G, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is adopted. Item 12, Committee on MDC Government Consideration and Potential Action regarding A, ordinance revisions. Recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Move it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? If not, all those in favor of item A signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Item B, recommended item B, proposed new bylaw B2K. Commissioners, okay, this is not part of the budget, is it?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the last two are not related.
Last two are not related to the budget. Okay, so we've adopted the budget.
Yes.
Budget's been adopted. Again, to echo Alan Hoffman's remarks for the chairman of the committee, I'd like to extend our gratitude for the hours and hours of work on the Board of Finance, the participation with the towns, the participation with the staff people, with the mayors, with the other people that have an interest in this budget, and say that it's an outstanding budget, I think, and also to congratulate our staff, our finance staff, and the rest of our staff that put this budget together, and our chief executive officer and his senior staff on a job well done. Again, we are demonstrating that we have a commitment to provide services at the least expensive cost and to provide the quality and level of service that we provide. It's definitely a reflection of the people that work here. Our greatest asset are our people, and we congratulate them. Mr. Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 12, Committee on MDC Governments, we're going to get into item B and C are separate. their reports from the Committee on Government. B is proposed new bylaws, B2K, Commission Communications to Staff. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move it. Move it.
Been moved and seconded.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Amendment on this?
there was an amendment at the Government Committee earlier today. In the final paragraph of the proposed bylaw, B2K, two words were stricken, the words general and routine. The original version read, "Nothing in this section shall preclude a commissioner or a citizen member from making general inquiries to district staff regarding routine operations or community activities." At Government, general and routine was stricken, so it now reads, "Nothing in this section shall preclude a commissioner or citizen member from making inquiries to district staff regarding operations or community activities."
Thank you, John.
Is there objection to the amended motion? Is there objection? If not, the motion to amend,
No, motion to approve.
I'm sorry,
As amended by
the motion to approve as amended. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item C, bylaw charter 6- Code of Ethics. Is there a motion to, recommended action, receive the report and adopt the resolution? Is there a motion?
Move it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? This wasn't amended at all.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
This is a very, very big
Commissioner
change,
Curry, is this
really.
Commissioner Curry?
Oh, Commissioner Adel, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Adel.
This is a very big change, really, in our process, and I'm kind of uncomfortable moving forward with this at this very time until I've had some more time to discuss with staff over this, because I think some of these provisions could put, a number of people in harm's way unintentionally. While I believe our public office is certainly a public trust, and we have to act very independently and without any efforts to try to subvert the process or whatever. There's some provisions in here that I'm just not comfortable with, and I'd like to really get more comfortable with before I vote on this.
Do you want to share that with the board?
That's a good question.
It's just for one thing, and I brought this to one of the attorneys already, which was, we often, as commissioners, bring candidates to the commission because, as we know, what is required, and Scott Gelson was just on Channel 3 the other day looking for more candidates for our Learn to Earn program and our summer internship programs. I don't want to be told we can no longer recommend people for that. And from the way I read this, I'm not so certain that we would have that right to do that any longer. And we're out in the community. We're people that have held public offices before, and we know quite a few people in the community. If we're precluded from offering candidates for offices, jobs, even just for summer, then that kind of takes away a lot of the pipeline in which we're finding the need for new employees, such as the summer help, so that the future they can come to us to replace our aging workforce. So that was one of the things. But in general, it's just kind of, it was here, and then boom, I thought we'd have time to study this before it was voted on tonight. So I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with this.
Andy, I think the Code of Ethics is something that we've been living with for several years, and there's not major changes in here.
But it hasn't been codified.
Well, let me
Let
me ask our chief legal counsel, who did most of the drafting of this, if not all of it, with the help of the Government Committee and support of the Government Committee. Chris, would you?
Sure. Chris Stone, District Counsel. In fact, Commissioner Adel, we have had we have had a code of ethics. It has been codified within our bylaws, Section B6 of our existing bylaws. What this is merely trying to accomplish is to modernize our code of ethics that in a manner that is consistent with the model code adopted by or promulgated by the Office of State Ethics. There's nothing, I understand your concern, but there's nothing in here that precludes a commissioner or citizen member to forward a name of any potential candidate for employment, but that's where it stops. And to actively promote or solicit an officer or employee of the district for promotion, reassignment, or employment is, in fact, forbidden. It's forbidden under our existing code of ordinance. So there's nothing here that creates an additional obligation or an area that any one of our commissioners should be concerned about. As I see it, there's been no violation of the existing ordinance, and this ordinance going forward is certainly contains provisions that all of you should be able to comply with.
Commissioner, just for a point of information, I believe the vote in the Government Committee was unanimous.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, was?
Correct.
It was. And again, in the event that there's something in this that you feel as you further review it and discuss it and with legal, that you feel it should be amended, you have the option as a commissioner to propose an amendment to the Code of Ethics. But I think that it's been vetted for several weeks, in fact, several months, and there's been major changes both actively and inactively through the process of the chief legal counsel. So I really think that this is something that's ready to be adopted. And again, as I say, as a commissioner, you have the right to raise an amendment in this process in the future if there's something that you've got concerned with and you can bring up to the board. And I'm sure that there would be, or to the board of the Committee on Government. But again, I don't know if anybody else has any other feelings on it. Rich?
No, I just have a question.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
What I've got, who's that?
Curry.
Commissioner Curry.
Commissioner Curry, go ahead.
Thank you. While I can agree to a point with Andy that my concern is one that, we all had an opportunity to review and give feedback on the original document, and then it went to government, and then it came to us with an amendment. And granted, it was vetted, but still, it's something new that we're facing, boom, right on the spot that we're asked to be making a decision on, and we're dealing with our bylaws. It's kind of an important issue, and all of the boards and commissions that I've ever belonged to, at least I think, the policies were that when the change to your bylaws came to you and went through the process like this one has, it was tabled to the next meeting so that everyone had an opportunity to review the new revised document that came out of whatever the last committee was, and then at the next meeting be more informed and be able to take whatever action they feel is appropriate. So I just want to throw that out there, that maybe we might want to consider doing something like that in the future.
Rich?
Yeah, my question was posed towards the structure. There's going to be an ethics advisory board. We don't have any.
No, there isn't an executive advisor. There will be appointed on I believe, an individual case.
No, right now, there is under our current bylaws, there's a ethics advisory board on the call of the chairman or the board. So it exists, but it exists and is active only when there's a call of the chair.
Something before you.
Under this provision, B6H, modifies that to calling for the Ethics Advisory Board to be a standing committee, that they don't meet just to meet, and they'll meet upon referral of a complaint, but they exist as a standing committee. It's not an ad hoc choosing members of a committee when something comes up. It's what we thought to be a better practice, that you have a standing committee, that there's no question that it's those individuals, 3 commissioners, that are the committee, and they're not chosen randomly or on an ad hoc basis based upon the nature of the complaint or who the complaint might be against.
Well, I think, how many members are on the government committee?
John?
I think about 12.
12, I think,
12.
yeah.
I think in the sakes of the full board has a chance to review, I kind of agree with Andy and Commissioner Adel to see if we could table this to the next meeting. I don't think 1 month delay would be significant.
That's fine with me. I mean, the bottom line issue, if that makes the board feel better, I don't think a month, we have an ethics code in place.
Right.
So this is an amendment to the ethics board, and that's what I say. If there is a problem, it's up to you, it's up to the board. If Commissioner Curry has pointed out that in some cases, these things are referred to, are passed for a month and then acted upon after that. But this is before us right now. We've spent months on this thing. It hasn't been an issue we decided on lightly, but again, it's up to the board in terms of what you feel is in your best interest or in the best interest of the board, the Metropolitan District Commission. But is there other opinions? Go ahead.
The
Yes.
correct,
Commissioner.
sorry, the correct number of the commissioners appointed to that committee are 14,
14.
if that makes any difference.
So that's almost 50% of the board. But anyway, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had some, I'm on the government board, and I reviewed the old ethics to the new ethics today. We talked about it at the meeting at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Really, the only difference is it went from 2 pages to 5 pages and said what not you're supposed to do, okay? You hold them up to the light, and it's virtually the same thing. I don't have a problem going another set of meetings for this if folks want to look at it again. I just have one comment that I realized when I was reading this again on B6B, first paragraph. I don't know if you just copy this as is, but you got a comma followed by a space and a period. I don't know if you clean stuff up.
I saw that. That'll be cleaned up in the final version.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
not a substantive change, but point well taken. Further discussion on the recommendation? Are we ready to vote on it, or is there a motion to table?
Move that we table it until next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay.
I would like here.
So it will be postponed till the next meeting, not tabled. It'll be postponed to the next meeting. That's the proper motion that should have been adopted. The motion to postpone to the the January meeting, and we'll take action on it. Okay? Personnel, Pension, and Insurance Committee, consideration and potential action regarding approval of pension investment policy.
So moved. It was
Moved.
approved by the PP&I.
Moved and adopted. Ray, go ahead.
Move and adopt.
It's been moved and adopted. Discussion? Ray, you want to say
Just
something?
that it was approved by the PP&I a couple weeks ago at our last meeting. We had David Lee in from New York, and we went through it, and no problems.
Okay,
Just, Mr. Chairman, if I might,
go ahead, Alan.
just to clarify, the agenda points to the pension investment policy. I happened to sit in on the end of that meeting today, and we were talking, the committee was talking, about interviewees. So were we interviewing,
It's
or would be interviewing policy or people?
That's a whole different matter than this resolution. What we
Go-
were
go
talking
ahead,
about
Ray.
at the end of the meeting, the beginning of the meeting, was that we're hiring a insurance broker.
Oh.
That was on the agenda, nothing to do with this policy. This policy was adopted, I don't know, 2 weeks ago.
November 10th, November 10th.
That's two different things. That's the
Okay.
adoption on the pension. The other is we're going to interview 3 firms and bring them, well, it's PPI's decision, it doesn't even come back to the board.
There'll be three, there'll be a public, or not, a committee, the total committee, Ray?
Yes.
The total committee, generally, a subcommittee, the acting chairman is recommending that it be all members of the board, of the committee, on PPI.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's actually almost so.
Okay, you're getting the word now, okay? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're getting there, guys. Opportunity for general public comments. Oh, I'm getting old for this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Silverstone, the Independent Consumer Advocate. As many of you know, my term as Independent Consumer Advocate ends at the end of the month. It's been an interesting 4 years. I remain a customer of the MDC, so I will still be paying some attention to your actions going forward. I wish you the best of luck in the future, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, David, for the many hours you spent with us and your commitment to what you were directed to do by the General Assembly.
Thank you, sir.
And last, I'm sorry, we got commissioner comments and questions.
Chairman, Commissioner Curry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. A lot of thanks went around to a lot of people, but I think we should also thank those from the outside looking in, and especially Judy Allen from West Hartford. She probably puts in as many hours as most of the commissioners doing her research, and I thank you for that, Judy. That said, I hope, Scott, that you can respond to a few of her comments tonight that may or may not be as accurate as she believes them to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. You want
I
to?
will, thank you.
When are you going to do that?
Not tonight.
Not tonight, okay. Again, I thanked everybody. I probably didn't talk about the chairman of the Finance Committee, who's been the person that's been behind most of the driving or keeping things moving forward, the herd master. And I'd like to thank Buddy Salemi, the chairman of the Board of Finance, who puts in significant number of hours. And I did say both the commissioners and the public members who also put in an enormous number of hours, because it starts in September and it's now ending on December this year, the adoption of this budget. So, Buddy, a lot of thanks to Bud Salemi, who is very committed and a great commissioner. Other business? If not, the appropriate motion is there a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
So moved.
Without objection, we stand adjourned.